Hey everyone, my name is Kim Barnes-Jefferson and welcome to FabFit TV. I am your host and I have my lovely guest, Miss Stephanie Troy. Here on FabFit TV, I focus on helping women to have the courage to break free of the diet mindset so they can live a life of balance, peace, and harmony when it comes to diet and exercise. So today I met Stephanie, I don't know, about a year ago?
Yeah, it was about that.
A year ago.
Yeah.
And we just kind of had this connection and then we, kind of kept talking and we started talking about gut health, and over the last probably year, that's something I've been really focused on personally. And so when we were having a conversation, I was like, you know what, you got to come on, because I know that it's one of those things I kind of heard about over here, but as it became more personal, it was something I needed to really focus on, and it's been, I don't know, a 360 in my world by focusing on that.
Yeah,
and you don't
too.
really realize how much that is. So Stephanie, give my lovely viewers a little background on yourself.
Sure. It's really exciting to be here with you guys. So my name is Stephanie Troy. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a nutrition coach and a yoga teacher. And so in my practice, through my business, Your Whole Healing, I offer individual wellness-focused therapy. And one of the foundations of my practice is utilizing the research on the gut-brain connection, in particular to look at how that's affecting emotional health and well-being. And also focusing in on stress management and looking at sort of diet and lifestyle and how that impacts our emotions and therefore sort of helps us better manage stress. So I came to all of this through my own health as well, sort of, and well-being, through my own burnout and working as a social worker in the field of addictions. I had worked as an individual therapist for over 13 years, but early on in that time, I got pretty burnt out and had really kind of hit the wall, was just really not feeling well. Digestive health was an issue, very, very run down, low energy, and just feeling like everything felt very bleak. I just felt like I was like in a haze of malaise, basically. Not to try to rhyme or anything, but that's kind of how I was. I was just kind of, and so it was through focusing in on my own health and then allowing that to lead the way. So I had been doing some yoga, and then that led me to yoga teacher trainings. I saw a nutrition coach, and then I saw someone who's a chiropractor who does applied kinesiology and did supplements and cleanses. And that really shifted and changed everything for me, and targeted some food allergies, and that, taking those foods out, starting to see the connection between food and mood was huge for me. And then that really made me want to get into doing it professionally.
Yeah, so it's funny. So I guess I first started hearing about the whole gut-brain connection when it came mostly to leaky gut. So that, and just kind of hearing that, like, I think it was like the percentage, I think it was like 60% of people have it. And I was like, what? And, and it kind of all, so then also I was like, all right, so you have leaky gut, so I get what that is. And then as the woman was going on, she was like, and because we have, our gut is like our second brain, when that is in distress, other pieces of your body are in distress. And I was like, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, if your stomach is all messed up, you're all messed up,
right?
Up.
It totally makes sense.
And I was like, all right, I get it. Because, like, sometimes when you have a stomach ache, I'm like, forget it. Like, I'm just like, don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting that, like, you're saying that, like, you had all these digestive issues. And if you think about it, like, if you go into CVS, Walgreens, whatever, there is an aisle dedicated to whatever ails you in your stomach.
Yes, and for me, I was diagnosed with IBS, and so I always feel like
that's a catch-call.
It's a total BS like diagnosis.
It's like I don't know what's wrong with you, but like whenever you get irritated, your stomach's gonna rumble.
And then also just makes you, like, the way I talk to my clients, I would say, that diagnosis or diagnosis like that is basically saying, like, that your gut is like, I don't know what to do with all this emotion.
Right.
And like,
I'm pissed off, so I'm just going to be angry.
I can't manage it. And like, that's what, it was like for me. But going to sort of Western doctors, Western healthcare, it was all like, we have a pill or, you could take peppermint capsules or, I don't know what to tell you. No one ever talked to to me about diet. And that's, really part and parcel.
Or they told you like have what do you call it? What's that? Like the bland diet. What is the bland diet that they call it? Like your Bratz diet.
Oh, the Bratz diet. Yeah. Which it doesn't really.
That's sexy. I'm gonna eat that for the rest of my life.
It doesn't really tell you much. And I think the reality is that any physician who's actually humble, they will tell you. In med school, they have no training in nutrition.
They get I think 20 minutes.
It's like at the most they say 25 hours of training throughout their medical career. But that's if that,
Right.
I've had, the only residents that I worked with in the hospitals who told me that they had some training were people who went to sort of more of a earthy, crunchy kind of med school.
Right.
Nothing really at the sort of, at the bigger schools. It's sort of the top-notch
right,
universities.
And as a society, we've been drawn that like if you go to Harvard or Johns Hopkins or Mayo, like you are gonna be like the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And then you find out that like some of these kind of like lesser tier schools focus in on some of the things that like what's really happening to us.
It's true. So with the research that's coming out, actually some of it is coming out of MIT, so some of the MIT students I work with get all excited when they hear like that I'm into this.
Right.
That research has been sort of like acknowledged and by all of these top universities, clinics, the Mayo Clinic. If you go on Harvard Medical School's website, you will find an article on gut-brain connection. John Hopkins. The thing that is sort of a point of frustration for me is that none of this research is being used in quote-unquote mental health treatment. That we are still sort of in the dark ages of thinking that our emotions are triggered by an imbalance of the neurotransmitters in the brain.
Right.
Which is something that we had talked about when we touched base about the show, because around the serotonin. So serotonin being the neurotransmitter that is low in people with depression, that regulates pretty much all main functions of the body: sleep, memory, body temperature, etc. There's just so much that serotonin regulates, and it is primarily produced and housed in the gut.
Yeah, and when I found that out, because it's the serotonin that tells you to calm down.
Yeah.
And it's the dopamine that tells you to
get all excited.
To perk up.
Yeah.
And the fact that for us, if there's that kind of like telling you, if you don't have that thing that says perk up, it's really hard for you to perk up. Like you can't just be like, I'm just gonna be perky today. Like there's all these like interactions that happen that tell you it's time to calm down. And like if your serotonin isn't being fully either utilized or fully produced, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, we have an overproduction of dopamine in our systems, through our lifestyle.
Oh yeah,
dopamine.
Quick hits.
Exactly. And I was just talking to a couple clients today about the pleasure center, the rewards pathway in the brain, in the limbic system, which regulates emotions, and how dopamine is constantly being sort of produced and shot out and to get us all excited when we eat sugar and drink alcohol and smoke weed and gamble and shop and play on our phone. Anything that
lights your brain up.
Anything that
we
gets
can find
exciting.
it pretty easy.
We can find it pretty easy, and then what happens is, as we continuously are tapping, which is what you were just talking about, as we continuously tap the pleasure center and the reward center, what ends up happening is we can't do it naturally. So we don't get excited about things that would be normally exciting. So, and I worked a lot with that in the past in working with addictions. That people who are in recovery, particularly in early recovery from substance abuse, really have a very difficult time feeling happy in general.
So there's some, I always say that regardless of whatever your addiction is, there was something that was missing in your life that the addiction fed. So when you pull out that addiction, there's still that hole.
Totally, and we are all, and addiction is a spectrum, and so,
Right.
you know, I mean, there are people, much like the people I used to work with, that are on the end of that spectrum, but we are all addicted on some sort of,
we have it. You know, nowadays they talk about like, can you go an hour without checking your phone?
Yeah. Oh my
Or
God. What
can
about
you,
that?
Right. Can you go an hour without checking your phone or TV or whatever? Like nowadays, it's really easy for us to bypass feelings.
Yeah.
That if maybe I am feeling down, so it's easy enough for me to go on my phone and be like, oh, this is what's happening, and then I don't even tune into what's going on.
Yeah, the sitting with discomfort is hard. We're not a contemplative society.
Right.
And so it's hard for us to kind of, because we're so geared towards pleasure and the idea that, you know, we should always just be happy.
Right.
And so
and it's funny
it's hard.
And it's funny you say that. So, you know, I was listening to another clinical psychologist, and she was talking about how, you know, there's all these books on like happiness, and it's literally just like be happy, and it's like if being happy was easy, you wouldn't be reading a book on be happy. And so, you know, as we were talking, it's really interesting how like most people don't tune in to how they feel about food. And as someone who is a nutrition person, so many times I always tell my clients, I'm like, if something makes you feel like crap, why would you eat it?
Why would you eat it? Exactly.
And whenever I ask them, I'm like, the first step is like, it's not about like counting calories. It's like, if you were to really sit down and journal out your food, and you were to say, you know what, when I eat whatever, I feel bloated, or I feel crappy, or I feel tired. Like, that is an indicator that there's something going on. And most people just don't even associate that is either a combination of foods or food itself.
It's true. Yeah. You know, I think we're very external. So, I mean, like what you're talking about and the way you guide your clients, and it sounds, you know, very similar to what I'm doing, is that, you know, guiding people to be more curious and have self-inquiry. And the way in which our lives are so highly scheduled, and so we're so focused on production. Particularly, you know, I work with a lot of folks that are type A, that are, you know, sort of intellectual and ambitious. And so the idea of like sitting in contemplation feels like, oh, this is just a waste of time. You know, it's like, I don't have that time for that. You know, and I think the thing is, as I was just, you know, speaking to someone earlier, you know, that's fine, but like we can't expect sort of the goods, the happiness to come if we don't learn how to just sit and be. And I think that's the hard piece. You know, the happiness stuff, I mean, the positive psychology is another aspect of my business that is, you know, a real passion of mine. And I think part of the reason why it's starting to explode is that the brain is really geared towards negative experience. Like we pick up negative experience far more easily than we do positive.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, granted, it's been millions of years since we have evolved from the cave.
Yeah.
But when we first emerged from the cave, we were wired to find things that could kill us. And so, despite how much we've evolved, our brain, there's still like this piece of our brain that is still looking around, waiting for the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, totally.
And it's easier for us to look for the saber-toothed tiger than for us to look for the magic unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, you know, Rick Hansen has shown sort of in his research on the brain, in his book, Buddha's Brain, you know, that the negative memories sort of get encoded in the brain much more easily. And which is why, like, you know, one of the tips in positive psych is to purposely at the end of your day, remember, write down, or say, like, 3 good things that happened that day. And I kind of liked that because of like I've tried the gratitude list, and every we can all get like, oh, I love tea, oh, love my blankets, oh, the sun. But the thing is that it's really like what's the research shows is that it's really about like if we focus on like actual moments,
right? Exactly.
That it comes all back.
And it's funny you say that. So it is moments because it's like whenever I always have this, I do like a Monday motivational video, and I always ask my clients at the end, I'm like, one thing. So whatever the theme is, like, okay, give me one thing. And do you know how hard it is for people to tell you one thing? That they're like,
it's true.
And I'm like, okay, so now you see why you're not getting results. So one thing.
Yeah. That's a good tip, yeah.
And it's like well, it started probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I read the book called The One Thing. And I have some issues myself. So I suffer from perfectionism and hustler, like total hustler. Like it's like I gotta be.
That's why I get the type A people really well.
And I get it because like I was a hustler, I was a driver, and I remember back when I was in corporate, I was having severe headaches. I lived off of what I call the holy trinity of wine, Tums, and Advil. It was an amazing combination.
Lovely.
Yes. And I went to my doctor, of course. But I will admit that, like, in this instance, I wanted a pill because I was like, I cannot feel like my head is like. And so she told me that I should do yoga and read the book Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. So at the time, I basically had some choice words in my head for her.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and it wasn't thank you for your time.
Yeah.
So, but now as I have evolved, and I think about like my stomach was in complete and utter distress.
Oh yeah.
Because I was a ball of stress. And I can now, as I like go through and like kind of map it out, like my stomach was the signal. Like there was a signal down there that like something's happening.
Yeah.
And then like it has to travel to your brain for you to like hopefully your body's like.
Oh totally. Oh yeah, I get that.
And so like what I find is that people can't tune in. They want that like immediate answer. Yeah. And like sometimes like I have like 5 things that I've been like trying to like figure out, and I'm like I don't have an immediate answer. It's frustrating as all get out. But I always tell people, I'm like, your body's telling you over and over and over again. Yeah. It's just a matter of tapping in. And so you were talking about seeing an applied
kinesiologist. Yes.
I can never say that word. I have
That's
no
all
idea
right.
why.
It's all good.
And I remember I was like, I had never heard of this until about 2 years ago. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And my massage therapist, I love her. Love you, Megan. She's a little woo. And at the time, I was like, what's happening here? And so she was doing like muscle testing on me just to because I was like saying I was taking this new pill, and she's like, oh, I don't know. She's like, your body feels weird, and I was telling, and she's like testing my arm, and I'm like, what?
It's wild. It's crazy. I have a friend that's going now, and like we talk about it. Yeah, I find it really fascinating.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what applied kinesiology is, I said it. So basically, your body responds to either positively or negatively, and I'm sure the first way I saw it, and it wasn't called applied kinesiology, is that I'm at a personal development conference, and your brain says if you believe something or not. So I would put my arm out, and I would say my name is Kim, and my arm would be rock solid. And I put my arm out, and I say my name is Susan, and my arm would drop like a stone. So the same thing happens in your body when things that you're putting into it are good for it or not so much. Yeah. And so they can go through a myriad of things. Yeah. And I think, for me, I hate getting my blood tested, so it's way faster.
It is way faster.
Than,
it's direct.
Going, because I've had my blood tested, and I think my doctor's part vampire, because it's been like 50 vials of blood, and inconclusive.
Yeah, over the years, since starting acupuncture also was a part of it, chiropractic care, a whole bunch of different things, massage. But over the years now, whenever I have symptoms, I will seek out support and help from the kinesiologist or acupuncture or both. And I find that it is a quick way to target what is going on. And rather than sort of the specialization of our healthcare system, and also this idea that like we need to go down this downward spiral of trying out medications,
right?
And sort of I never really liked that idea of being sort of like a lab rat.
Yeah, and then I always felt like we all we all have seen the commercials of may cause, and it's like the litany of, you know, side effects from the thing it's supposed to be curing. So that always like
totally.
set me the wrong, kind of set me back a bit. But so here it is. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling depressed. I know that there's just something off, you know, and despite my best efforts of going the Western route, like what is like something that I can do as a way to kind of start seeing if it truly is something that's going on in my gut, or if it truly is something that's going on in my brain.
Sure. Well, one of the ways in which I work with clients is through diet and looking at maybe doing an elimination diet, so taking out all of the top allergens. And the three top are dairy, gluten, and soy.
Yep.
Those are they don't need to be in our diet, and they oftentimes are wreaking havoc. And then you can get into, you know, the different things like, you know, corn, which is a huge one too, nuts, a variety of different things. But taking that stuff out, taking out the sugar, at least cutting it down, and really seeing sort of how you feel. Caffeine is one, you know, most of my folks are very anxious. So at the bare minimum, I say to them, you know, sugar and caffeine, it's just adding more adrenaline to the system. Yeah, totally. Coffee is like crack. I used to have this client, we used to joke all the time about coffee. She, you know, would take herself off, and then it was like sort of the crack would be like, you know, the crack man on the street would be like, but have a cup, but it's just Starbucks, but, you know, and we used to joke about how it's like everywhere.
Oh, you can't swing a dead cat.
You can't go anywhere.
Like a coffee shop.
Yeah, and you know, you can't even go to Target anymore. Like you can't shop, you can't do anything without coffee.
You can't go to the grocery store without coffee being right in there.
And so that is sort of like, that's a very basic thing I work with my folks on, and then also really incorporating meditation. I work with a lot of young clients, so the millennials love like the apps, you know, using apps, and I always say that, you know, that's doing all the mindfulness apps and meditation apps. It's a way to begin. It's an inroad, but ultimately we all need to learn how to just sit still, quiet, you know, even if it's for 5 minutes to begin with.
And that's one of the reasons why I like going to the group acupuncture, because it forces me to unplug for 30 minutes. I listen to a white noise, just so that I hear other people.
Nice.
And so I just listen to a white noise, and it just forces me, and it surprises me how I just I'm like, whoa, I just was able to disassociate from everything.
Yeah, and one of the things that you brought up a little while ago around sort of, we were talking about sitting with discomfort, you know, another part of the work that I do is incorporating Buddhist psychology, and really, you know, a lot of clients will say like, well, why would I want to do that? And I'll say like, well, you know, but we're always uncomfortable. We're always going to be uncomfortable. Like whether, you know, so part of it is just learning how to sit.
And it's funny about the being in discomfort, because this is probably like 3 years ago. Like I was working with a new business coach, and she's like, you know, Kim, I really need a journal. I'm like, journal?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not no dear diary girl.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, you will rip that journal from my cold dead hands.
There you go.
And it's funny how, like, you know, and I tell my clients, I go, why don't you just sit for 15 minutes? And even if you just write blah, 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 just for 15 minutes. I go, one day you're going to write some stuff, and you're just going to go like, whoa, where did that come from? And it just is letting you just be you. Yeah. Uncensored. And I go, you never have to go back and read it if you don't want to, but it's letting you be uncensored, because I feel like, especially in this day and age, we're so politically correct.
Oh yeah, I'm not really big into PC.
Well, I'm not that girl either, but and I just say what I say, but
be real.
There are a lot of people who are, and I'm like, who go in your journal. If you wanted to tell someone they were a so and so in your journal, you can tell them they're a so and so, and you can,
because it's living in you,
right? Because especially the people, I have a lot of clients who are people pleasers, and if you're a people pleaser, it's festering.
Totally.
And I'm like, God knows it's going to fester into.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I hear you about the whole burnout, and I have been there. I've been to the edge, and I've come back. And when you you know, it's funny because like when you see someone running for that brick wall, you want to be out in front.
I know. I do that. That's sort of what I'm always like with my clients, and I'm like,
And
some like will be like, oh, you know, they'll heed the warning, and others are like,
some you just have to like step back and just
yeah, exactly.
have at.
Be my guest.
I'm here to pick you up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Stephanie, if I was, you know, wanted to know more how to work with you, I wanted to know more about this kind of like what is happening with me as far as anxiety or depression or whatever, you know, how do I get in touch with you?
Sure. So, so my website is yourwholehealing.com, and you can reach me at through my website, or also emailing me at yourwholehealing@gmail.com. And phone number is also 617-702-4640. So any of those ways of reaching out, you know, I, like most of us, need to detach from my phone. So unfortunately, you know, it's there. I'm there. I check it far too many times. So
we all do.
Yes.
We all do. Yeah. So I absolutely enjoy this because I love how there's a lot of crossover between like what I do and, you know, the whole mental health thing. Because I do have, you know, I have this one client who's a mommy, and like, you know, she's on a whole host of drugs from postpartum, and part of me is just like, let's just figure out why you're sad.
Totally. That depression, I always say, you know, and I actually wrote a blog post about, you know, depression is just sadness in disguise.
Right, and I just I go, I'm not saying take yourself off the drugs. I just need you to start to tap into why you're sad.
Yeah.
So with that said, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. Really great to be here with you guys.
There's so much going on with that gut health, so I really want you guys to really like tune into what's going on with your tummy when things are rumbling, when you feel bloated. It's food related, stress related, something other than, you know, I'm just gonna let it pass. So thank you guys so much. I will be here on June, I think it's the 16th. Let me just double check. No, I'm lying. I'm totally lying. I'll be back on June the 26th. And I'll be talking with my friend Gently all about bullet journaling. It's going to be amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you again, Stephanie.
Thank you.